conducted by Loan Process Solution, LLC. Answers that matter. Disclaimer: the information provided in this video is for informational purposes only and is not meant to take the place of legal advice.
Hello everyone, we're ready to get started, so I hope you have your pens and your pads and whatever it is that you write with and write on, and I hope you have your questions. That's what we're here for. So let's get started. Do you remember growing up and someone told you a secret that wasn't really a secret? Well, pay stubs tell more than you know. When was the last time you took a look at your pay stub? So let's cover some of the benefits of understanding your pay stub, okay? Learning how to read your pay stub can help you better understand your income. And by understanding the layout and terms of your pay stub, you can track how much you earn. You can know how much of your earnings is allocated towards or taken out for withdrawals. And you can learn how much you take home. Clearly, you can see how much you take home. Keeping a good record of your earnings can help you improve your overall personal finances. Why do lenders ask for pay stubs? This is a great time to take those pens and pads out to take notes. Also, you guys can put your comments in the inbox, as well as send an email to simplyasharriet@outlook.com. Okay, so pay stubs, right? That's what we're talking about. Lenders ask for pay stubs, for your most recent pay stubs, to verify your gross monthly income. And some pay stubs have additional information on it, like your job titles, the date that you were hired, and other detail, like if you're a full-time employer, part-time, salaried, hourly, contractor, seasonal, and etc. There's more. Okay. And so those are things that the lenders really focus on those pay stubs. Get as much detail as they can about your salaries and how you're paid. But lenders usually ask for more than one pay stub, and that's because it helps to calculate, your income. It gives more accurate numbers, right? When we have more than one pay stub, that we can make that determination. So pay stubs are also used to confirm that you're still employed. So if you ever wondered why some lenders keep asking you to update your pay stubs, it's a good idea to keep those pay stubs current in your file, because it does show that you are still employed all the way through loan closing, okay? And then the year-to-date information that's on the pay stub, and we're going to cover year-to-date in a little while. But year-to-date earnings is looked at on the pay stub. It generally averages and compares that information with your prior year income. And what the lender is looking for is to confirm income levels and income consistencies. For example, let's say that you took some time off work without pay, right? Then you may need to write a letter of explanation regarding the income, because if we're comparing your current income to prior year income and it appears to be less based on the year-to-date information, then you will need those letters, because that would show inconsistency of income. Okay? What are some of the common details that you might see on a pay stub? Now, this pay stub looked kind of busy, but we're going to go through it together. This first arrow that just came up a minute ago, all right, that shows the name and address of the company that this individual works for. It shows the total amount of hours worked that pay period. It also shows overtime hours that was worked. Gross wages, that's what the person earned before taxes is taken out, so that's their gross income for that pay period. It has the name of the individual and their home address. So this person's name is Mary Smith, and that's her home address listed there. So I just want to make a note that if you've had a change of names or home addresses, so in other words, when you fill out your application for the loan, it shows a different address or name, you will need supporting documents to show, basically to detail that change. Sometimes people get married or may have moved, so those letters of explanations will be required. Now, this arrow right here, it shows the name of the employee, Mary Smith, and her social security number. It also shows the date that this pay period is covering, right? So in this case, this shows a pay period, end date. Some pay stubs actually show the date that the pay period began and the date that it ends, but this one shows just the end date for that pay period. Standard withholdings, now that would be your deductions for taxes of any kind, like federal tax, Social Security, state, local tax is all listed here. Those deductions will be listed on your pay stub, and that's very common. All right, and then here, if you look at this category that just came up right here, if you look at it really close, the person has a loan, right? So the lender would need to documents showing, how much is owed on that loan, what's the balance owed, what is the payment terms, so that we can get a clear understanding of what your monthly obligation is. So some loans will show on the pay stub. In this case, it does. So supporting documents will be required. Just make a note of that. Now we're looking at net income, right? Now net is after the tax come out. So this is the actual funds, the amount of monies that this individual is going to take home for that particular pay period. And then this little arrow that just popped up a minute ago is earnings to date. So that's how much money this individual has made so far this year, the year that this pay stub is printed out. So it's earnings year to date. Definitions for some of the pay stub categories. Deductions on the pay stub. Deductions are cash amounts taken out of the gross wages or the gross income. Remember, I told you that gross is what you make and net is what you bring home. So these deductions are taken out of the gross, and they will consist of items like taxes, contributions, and others. Year-to-date contributions or year-to-date deductions, year-to-date deductions, the total amount for each type of deduction on the pay stub. For example, FICA taxes are taken out each pay period. And so your pay stub would show the total amount of FICA taxes taken out for that pay period, right, for the current pay period. And it would also show the total amount of FICA taxes taken out so far, year to date, right? So far that year, all right? And that's what year to date deductions are. So FICA. FICA means Federal Insurance Contribution Act. That's what that stands for. So let's talk about taxes. Taxes are often listed in the deduction section of your pay stub, right? For example, FICA taxes are included in this area, and it actually covers Medicare and Social Security. But also under taxes, you have federal taxes, state taxes, local taxes. Those items are all included in and under the section for taxes on the pay stub. So, just a little note here. The FICA taxes are set by IRS. IRS sets the tax rate for FICA, okay? Another little note, I don't know if you guys remember, but when you filled out your W-4 form, that's a form when you first got hired, start working for your company, and most of the time that this form you would fill out, it informs your employer how much federal taxes to withhold from your paycheck, right? And that's based on your filing status, whether you're single, you're single, you're married. That's what filing status represents. The number of dependents, the anticipated tax credit, and deduction. So the actual amount of federal taxes that comes out of your paycheck is actually managed by you based on what you put on that form. Okay, that form is called a W-4 form. All right. And this W-4 form, as I said earlier, is completed usually when you start a new job. Every time you start a new job. Now, this is just a little note. It is a good idea to check your pay stub to make sure that your the number of dependents is correct. Okay, just a little note. Contributions. Contributions are another kind of deduction, but if the contribution comes from your employer, it may be included in your gross wages. For example, let's say if you were contributing 3% of your paycheck towards your 401k, and your employer is going to match your contribution. This is how it works. Your contribution will be deducted from your paycheck, right? But your employer's contribution will be listed as part of your gross wages. Now, net pay. Net pay is generally the amount of money that you bring home each payday. Net pay is the amount left over after the deductions is taken out of your gross pay, right? And sometimes a net pay is called take-home pay. It's the amount of money or the amount you receive from your pay, and it's usually either by direct deposit or it can be a paper check. Garnishments. What is a wage garnishment? A wage garnishment is a legal process for collecting money on behalf of a plaintiff from a defendant, right? So a plaintiff is a person who brings a case against another in a court of law, and the defendant in this example would be the employee, the person that works for the company. All right. So wage garnishments are typically court-ordered or government agency actions such as, IRS levy, right? Which requires the employer to withhold a percentage of the employee's salary and to direct those funds to the designated agency or creditor. Now, what I'd like to bring attention to here is that court order or that order, government agency order, it has some weight to it, right? The employer is legally obligated to make the appropriate deductions and to direct those funds to the agency or the creditor that's outlined in that order, okay? So just want to bring attention to that. Now, some of the situations that could lead up to a wage garnishment would be a alimony, child support, defaults on student loans, unpaid taxes, and also consumer debt. Now, what I also want to bring attention to here is the pay stub may show additional debts or obligations, right, that normally would not show on a credit report. So in this example, you can see how additional debt is coming up, so the lender would have to consider that debt, those obligations that are listed here, and in the decision on the loan. Okay, so just wanted to bring that to your attention here. So we want to take just a quick break to encourage you guys to check your pay stubs to make sure that the deductions are correct. We have seen situations where individuals have already met their responsibility for some of the items that they may have had in the category of garnishments. But for some reason, the pay stub does not reflect those updates. Those payments are still coming through payroll. So encouraging you guys, double check, make sure that everything on your payroll is correct, including any items like garnishments and things of that nature. Okay? Now, moving forward, the employer, if you have a garnishment, if they receive an order for a garnishment, the employer is responsible to process those garnishments within a timely fashion. So it is time sensitive. If they're not processed within the time of the order, then the employer will be penalized in most cases. All right, so just wanted to make that note. The other thing I want you guys to know is that garnishments, the rules or the regulations for garnishment is a federal law. It's set by the federal government. Okay, but on a state level, some states will allow the employer to administer garnishment fees, a fee for processing the garnishments, and other states will not. However, if your employer is allowed to collect an administrative fee, that will be on your pay stub, and it will be in the deduction section of the pay stub. All right, just want you guys to know that. Now, one other item I want to bring to your attention is voluntary wage assignments. Just make a note that that's very, very different than a wage garnishment. So now, voluntary wage assignments, that's something that you elect as an employee for your employer to take funds out of your payroll to cover. And it will cover things like medical insurance would be one, and also pre-tax benefit programs. Some employers offer pre-tax programs, so that would be an item that will come through your payroll. And just to make a quick note, those pre-tax benefit plans, they would be taken out of your payroll before taxes. All right, so that's an item that would be taken out before taxes. And again, we're talking about pre-tax benefit programs and plans, and that is a voluntary assignment. All right, you have 100% control of that, which means that you can stop it at any time. All right, so that's a voluntary wage assignment. Just make a note of that. All right, guys, so we've made it to the end almost. So here are final notes. This is just a recap. Keep good records of your earnings, and make sure that you review your pay stubs on a regular basis, right? Get familiar with every line item on your pay stub. Check your deductions and make sure that they're accurate. Your names and addresses, if you have any changes of names, may have gotten married or just have a legal name change, or you move to a different address, make sure that you contact your HR department to let them know, so that when your pay stubs print out, the information is correct. And remember, names and addresses on the pay stub should match the name and address that's on your loan application, okay? If it doesn't match, you will need letters of explanation with supporting documentation most of the time, all right? So that is a recap. Do you have questions? Here's a list of our topics.
Why do lenders ask for so much? Pay stubs tell more than you know. Additional income, child support, retirement, investments, rental income, bonuses, and commission. Self-employment. The application process. Budget. How to get started, and why do I need one? Common terms you should know. Bankruptcy, child support and alimony, home inspections, the loan closings. It's not all about your credit score. Freeze or fraud alert. What is the difference?
I have one question for you. Why do you want to be a homeowner? Think about it. What is the first thing that came to your mind? Was it, I'm tired of paying rent? Or, I want a home for my children? Or, I just want to have a nice place that I can call home? Or perhaps it's just, I want something to pass on to my family. Whatever the answer is, keep focus on that. Don't lose focus, okay? Keep the dream alive.